Hi guys, welcome to Reality React channel. In this channel, we watch reality TV shows to recap, review, and for the fun of it. And today, I'll be recapping the Mummy Club season 3, episode 4. So they are still at the Pala Pala boutique hotel, and they are going for a spa. And Peladi and Noksie are holding hands. Apparently, Peladi is the one that initiated the holding of hands. Noksie is the one that initiated the holding of hands. And I'm like, Noksie, after so much drama, you still holding this girl's hand for what? What does she stand to benefit? Did she want to explain herself? Did she want to apologize? Because she has been apologizing. But like, what did she aim to achieve? I don't get it. I know it's a job to be on the show, but she doesn't have to play nice with Pelade, for me, from my understanding. Then they get to the reception, and then Vui and Happy go for a mellow bath. Peladi and Noksie go for a milk and honey and something else bath. And I'm surprised because I did say last week that it seems like Noksie has a strong character, or she has a good heart. Because I wouldn't deal with that. You can't be calling me aggressive for no reason. You need to have specific details of me being aggressive. She could have said maybe she's rude. Aggressive sounds very hectic. And the fact that she had inherited her husband's DNA, or it has been sexually transmitted. Like, no. But Noksie has a good heart because what is that? And then Mrs. Sunday and Mrs. J go for a massage. So as Peladi and Noksie are bathing, Peladi asks, "How are you?" And then Noksie says that she's feeling attacked, and the way she has been trying to go through this thing, it seems like the ladies are just against her. So we found out through the argument that, because now it seemed like when Noksie was explaining, Peladi was quiet. She had explained that she feels attacked, and then Peladi went back to her and tried to explain to her that she seems like she felt judged by Peladi and she felt disrespected and all of that. And then as she's explaining, so now it becomes heated. And then we found out that the ladies have been discussing Noksie on the outside, because Peladi tells Noksie that no one likes you in this group. Don't think that they like you. And I'm like, oh, so you've been discussing her. Why on earth would they be doing that? That's why at the boat cruise, that's why all of them, except for Mrs. J, said that marrying a white man is not an achievement. It's because they have been saying those things behind her back. And for what good reasons? Like, why are they discussing Noksie? What did she do to them? Is this rudeness? Because then even that high school thing, now Peladi is saying that like the way Noksie is saying that Peladi takes the things that she says and say them in a way that it sounds like they just decide to misunderstand her. They misconstrue her statements. And I'm just like, okay, for why? What is the reason? Is it so that she can be the villain of the show, like she did say at the dinner later on in this episode? And also, Mrs. Vui and Happy, as they are talking, they are now talking about how their husband have passed, and Vui's husband as well passed on. The first husband passed on with a mistress. And I'm like, okay. And they now talk about how Istanbul is not such a bad idea. They are all for it. And also, Happy says that as much as we judge her for how she has decided to heal, going through the grieving of her husband, and the fact that the public is saying that when she posts her husband, they say, "Why are you crying for a man that cheated on you?"
That guy is still her lost husband.
Yeah, a husband that passed on. She still feels a loss anyway. So, but people must not dictate to her how she must grieve for that husband that had cheated on her. And also, even if she says that when they were together, it didn't show that he was in a relationship with someone else. So now people must not act like she knew of the situation that was happening. And also, I feel like she's right in that sense. And then they must stop telling her that she must stop grieving for a cheating husband. Because I'm just like, how is that any of our business? That I know social media people, we like things and we are always commenting on things that have nothing to do with us, like what I'm doing now. And anyway, so Pelady and Noksie, they're still discussing, and then Noksie notices, and Pelady calls her that now, from now going forward, I will treat you like you are an insane person, like you are not normal. And I'm like, between the two of you, it seems like you're the one who's not sane, because the things you've been saying about this girl, and and then now she, in her diary session, she goes on about how people were raised different. I'm like, you and I, your parents didn't even give you enough chance to grow, to raise you, because you decided to go marry someone who was 33 years older than you, and they didn't say anything. And Noksie is not even bringing that up to say that you can't say that. Well, she said in her diary session, I hope that she will bring it up at the reunion, because why would you say that you were raised differently? Like, why? What is the difference? Like, I feel like these ladies, they need to maybe be fully aware of the statements that they say, because it's also just weird vibes. I don't wanna lie. And then she, when Noksie is walking out, she sends a voice note to Mrs. Sunday to say that the labor matosa of the group has left, please, and please come this side, and all of that. And I'm just like, why are you disturbing her massage? Because when you are at the massage, you're not supposed to be disturbed. It's a quiet thing, like Mrs. Sanders said. You're supposed to be relaxing and be in a quiet space and all of that. And like chitty-tatting the way they were doing there by the bathtubs. So when she leaves, Mrs. Sunday, after listening to the voice notes, and that everyone in that room was listening to, including Mrs. J, right? She said that they talk about how they knew that those ladies will fight because of how they were initially. I mean, everyone could see that it was a brewing type of thing, because they know that exactly that Pelady is not happy with Noksie. And when she tries to address her issues, it has to do with how Noksie did not recognize her. And Noksie explains that I didn't recognize you because you changed hairstyles. And that happens sometimes if you have met a person once. If you meet them for the second time or the third time, you might not recognize them because you don't know them. And apparently Noksie went to her and said, hi, my name is Noksie. And I'm just like, at where? Which hotel? Was it the hotel there in Palana or the hotel where they met? Because I want to understand, because if it's the hotel where they met, then it made sense why she would go and introduce herself. And also, why are people getting offended? Because even he was offended with the introduction that Noksie did with her when she asked her, what do you do for a living? Yo, guys, I just think that these ladies are up to no good. Anyway, when Mrs. Sunday gets to Pelady, she says that, oh, why are you guys fighting? What happened? Why are you sitting alone? I'm like, didn't I tell her that we want to, because I feel like these meetings are orchestrated by the producer so that these ladies can talk to one of the people about their experience. Did they not tell her what had happened? Because she listened to a voice note, we all listened to it. What she was supposed to say, why are you sitting alone? She said the Matosa has left. Why are they asking such questions? Anyway, so she doesn't fully explain what happened. She says that when she was trying to tell Noksie that she found her condescending, Noksie did not want to listen to her. And she said that, and Noksie did say that if you it seems like you are choosing to be offended by me, so be offended. And I feel like I get her. If people want to be offended, if people want to play victims, then let them, because you will apologize for how many times because they needed to have said that let's rather move on, or I am sorry that I offended you. And also Peladi needs to also say she's sorry, because she was judging how Noksie was raised. She was saying that Noksie was riding herself with white people, even though they fully understood what she meant. Like her husband was there, how was she going to prostitute herself to all the men they like these people? Okay. And then also Noksie calls Mrs. J to explain her situation as well. You see, that's why I'm saying that it was orchestrated by production, because they could have just chosen both of them to sit by themselves. It's at a spa. You can relax with other people, instead of shortening Mrs. J's massage session, shortening Mrs. Sunday's massage session. Like, there were so many options they could have chosen. So Mrs. J gets to our label Matosa and hugs her, and she tries and explain what had happened, and also she explains that she's there for a good time, you know. She's not here to argue or have petty fights that she thinks that Peladi is bringing to the group, which are unnecessary. And I get her. And Mrs. J also tries and says that I feel like this was just an insight for her to see that Peladi and Mrs. J met, and Peladi had said, even before she had a personal interaction with Noksie, that she doesn't like Noksie. So maybe it will give Noksie an idea to say that this person did not like you even on the first day. So maybe don't take it to heart when she is being mean to you, because or takes things that you say to misunderstand them, you know. Like, don't take it to heart, because I feel like that's what she was trying to achieve. Because why would she say that I met up with her and she did say that she didn't like your energy? So that makes more sense. And then Mrs. Sunday on the other side is trying to say, I feel like she was just on a bashing of Noksie as well, because she said that Noksie had said that she is childish. And I don't know if they, I don't understand, because you could just use Google. What does it mean when a person says that I behave like a pee? So before the dinner, Mrs. Sunday and Mrs. J meet up to discuss what they have gathered from both the ladies, and it seems like they also do not, I don't know, it seems like they're not keen on being mediators. They are fine with being the confidants, because Mrs. Sunday suggests that Mrs. J suggests that Mrs. Sunday be the one that goes and talk to Noksie, and then she says that I also have issues with Noksie, so I will be biased. But she doesn't say this. She says that Yana on her direct session, she's like, no, I'm not gonna go there and be in the den of lions, and then you know what, Badong Rorela or something like that, because I feel like she is not she's not a good person to be the one that mediates anyway, because she was the one that was offended by Noksie, and she didn't tell her when that offense took place. Instead of trying to understand, what do you mean by saying this, because she said it to her face, and then she brought it to the dinner that they had, instead of saying, okay ma'am, what do you mean by that? And also because we had said that whenever issues arises up, you will come to me and tell me. So that's what she was supposed to do in the first place, but she chose a different route. So they get to the dinner, and they ask each other, how was your experience? And then Mrs. Vander thanks the host, happy that it was a good session, that she forgot to mention that it was cut short because they had to go mediate. And then Noksie now comes and says how, oh, they also happy shares that they had an opening, they were oversharing a lot and stuff like that, and they had an emotional one, which we saw, because even Vui at one point had a tear drop coming out of her tear, and I wonder of her eye, and I wonder if that was orchestrated by herself, or it was just thinking of her first husband that left her while he was with someone else and stuff like that. But anyway, but she had, like, after the first husband, she had the second one and then the third one, but she still, I feel like that maybe it's a bit traumatic. Maybe that's why Happy wants a session with the side chick to find out what was her husband's last moments, which I think it's bizarre to ask, like what will that girl say? He said that he loved me so much, he wanted to leave you, or he wanted to get into a September marriage because like they are both on it. Like what does she want from that girl? Because that girl has nothing to do with that guy, or except that he passed on while he was with her, or he passed on, the accident happened while they were together. Like, I just feel like Happy's request will be so weird to the girl. I feel like if I was the guy, I wouldn't want to meet up with the wife and all of that, even though the partner had passed and they can't come back and tell you what had happened. I wouldn't be interested. But and then Noxis tries to explain that their session only lasted 9 seconds because after how are you doing, it became a court case of her saying that uh, what is her name? Peladi looked different with her short hair. And then you remember Peladi in her diary session said that Noxie was insinuating that she looked ugly. And also Happy says something in her diary session. She says that the way Noxie said it, maybe Noxie has a tone issue off camera that we do not see. Like, because I'm just wondering, why would Happy say that the way she said it made it look like it was not a good thing for Peladi to have a short hair. So Peladi goes on and on to explain what had happened in their session, and the reason why she walked out, right? Is because she felt attacked, and for her mental well-being, she decided to leave. And then, before she could even finish, Mrs. Sunday says, "Thank you." And then in her diary session, she's like, "Yeah, this book, now this book is so long and it's not interesting." And she wants to hear Peladi's side. So she has taken a side. That's why when Mrs. J suggested that she intervenes, she said she can't do it. Makes sense, okay? And then Peladi explains to her that explains to Noxie that now you are ready to talk, because when we were supposed to talk, we didn't want to talk. You didn't want to listen to me. I gave you an opportunity to talk, and then when it was my turn to talk, you walked out. So that's the thing she didn't like. Okay, cool. And then Mrs. J wants to now say what had happened, right? Because she also got from Peladi decided there by the table what had happened. And she also know that Peladi did not like Noxie from the word go. That's why I'm wondering why would... And then she says that off camera, Noxie said that let's hold hands. She forced her to hold hands. If she didn't want to hold hands, she could have let her hand go. Like, what is this? Are you a child? Who's forcing you to hold hand with her? Like, it's not a must that you must hold hand with this lady. Like, I just think that... And also, there are things against this Peladi, this Noxie lady, because, yeah, if people have discussed you, 5 people have discussed you, or 4 people, because I don't know if Mrs. J was part of the discussion. I don't know. Before Mrs. J finishes the thing that she has said, that it was a hair issue, and also Noxie did say that they all looked different, and I think maybe she meant they all looked beautiful by that, and also only Peladi took offense to it, and because there were other things. So before she could finish, not Peladi now directly saying that they've all discussed this lady, Noxie, as a collective. And I'm like, so they had a meeting. They should have showed us that meeting. Even screenshots of that WhatsApp group that they discussed Noxie on. Because I want to understand. Because it seems like Peladi is the one that's standing on business to find out why is Noxie behaving the way she does. You know? Like, and the rest of the group are cowards. They don't want to talk about it. And she also says that Mrs. J was supposed to call her to the side and find out what is going on. And I think that's the right approach. I don't know why she didn't do it so that she can be at least neutral instead. Or maybe because she thinks that everyone is standing with Peladi. So it's just a nice thing to stand with Noxie. I feel like that's not a bad idea. And also, I wish Noxie Noksie had said it to Peladi's face that she's not the one that left her with 0 rands and took her kids away. So she's not her man. So she doesn't have to like her, and they don't have to like each other. They can just be cordial with one another and act like normal people. They do not have to get into bath together, like stuff like that. Noksie knows how to stand her ground, guys, because at one point when she was arguing with them after they have tried to understand where they were all coming from and stuff like that, and then everyone has now chipped in because Piladi couldn't really explain her story except that the 2 things that offended, or the 3 things that offended Piladi, is the hickey comment, the hair comment, and the fact that she needs to go Google what it means or study what it means to be a day. And that's the things that she thinks that Noksie has done. Those are the 3 things that I feel like they are so light. They were not supposed to cause so much argument, so much fights. I just think that Noksie is right when she says that they are childish, because those 3 things, they seem very small. Like Googling that thing, it doesn't even require you to study, because now she's saying she has undermined my education level. Like, why are you so obsessed with being undermined? Like, what is wrong with you? Did you see Peladi as an up there person? You know, when we have the superiority complex, I feel like Peladi is having the inferiority complex, because it doesn't make sense that she is offended by those 3 things that I mentioned. And then everyone now chips in. We also have a look at Peladi and says that it seems like no one is getting along with you and you are using a disrespectful tone. And also Noksie addresses Happy and says that even the way you are hosting, you are taking sides, you are not being a good host. And then now Happy says that now I'll give you the streets, I'll be so loud. And now they start arguing. And also Mrs. J at one point, because before she said that she's not longer gonna talk, she was even banging a table or banging something on the table. And I'm like, this is setting a lot of people, this conversation that happened between Peladi and everyone else. Because it seems like even before, guys, I just think that these people had a meeting where they, like Peladi did say that in her absence, they talked about her tone, because when she goes on, before Noksie went on the dinner, she did say that no one has checked on her, because even the checking that happened between Mrs. J and Noksie was initiated by Noksie. Happy did not go and check on Noksie after that boat cruise that they were all ganging up on her the same way they are ganging up on her on this table. And then this lady, Mrs. Sunday, says that you see how she's holding the glass now. I felt like that wine was going to fall on me, and then you called me childish. So to Mrs. Sunday, she has said that Mrs. Sunday is childish, and Mrs. Sunday was like acting like a PP in the previous season. So those are the offenses that she has said. And I'm like, okay, so maybe her tone needs to be worked on, but also your offense radar, like Mrs. J's child told her that their offense is taken, not given. So maybe they need to relook at how and what offends them, because I feel like that statement was very light. They didn't have to be offended by it. They could have just said that, okay, guys, it's just small waters. Why would you think I'll pour a glass of wine on you? What is the reason behind that? Exactly. Why are you wanting to teach people how to hold glasses when they are a fully grown adult and they have kids? I don't get it. Maybe that's why she referred to her as childish. And then Mrs. Sunday and Mrs. J goes on to check on Noksie. And when she comes back to the dinner table, right? Because Mrs. J left immediately. When she comes back from the dinner table, why is Mrs. Sunday lying, saying that she was in the bathroom? And Happy says that no, she's lying. And why is she not telling her to her face that, oh no, ma'am, you are lying? The same way Peladi told Noksie that I don't like this girl, Akamurati. party, this girl, and she's entitled to it. And she is indeed entitled to it. But you cannot be open to be in a group setting, and then the first day you met a person, you say you don't like them. It means you are not open to it at any point, or unless if you were open to it so that you could bring drama. Other than that, I don't think that she had any reason to be part of this club anyway. And people are saying that because she's not full-time raising her children, what is she doing? I'm like, now we are judging how someone is going to be a mother to their children. I think that's not right. She's a mother in her own right. She's a mother on weekends. She's a mother at one point, and also I feel like she did the right decision to let her children be raised by that man because he had enough funds. And she didn't want to drag him to court because from what we have heard, he's a lawyer and all of that. So she didn't have time for all of those things. She needed to heal, recoup, and rebuild herself like she's doing now. I feel like Peladi is not really a good person, but I think we need to give her grace on the motherhood part. She's a mother. So Mrs. Sunday joins Mrs. J and Noksie, and she was comforting Noksie by saying that they are similar in so many ways. After Mrs. J left them, she said that they are similar in so many ways and they will get to know each other. And Noksie in her diary session does say that her and Mrs. Noksie and Mrs. Sunday, they are not the same at all. Because we saw Mrs. J, she blows with the wind. The same way at the table when Happy said that Mrs. Sunday blows with the wind. If she was to be angry at her, she will be there with her. And I'm like, Happy, are you being manipulative? Because the first episode, you were making peace with Mrs. Sunday. So now you will be angry at her for no reason. And now she was even calling her Limenemene when she said that she's going to check out on them. Guys, I think that Happy is also very spicy with these comments that she says. And then when Mrs. J get to the table, Happy tells her that, you are standing up with nonsense. She had tried to be neutral. And Mrs. J tells her that as a host, you need to go check in on your guest. Mrs. J comes back and she leaves Noksie with Mrs. Sunday. And then when she gets there, she tries to say that you guys are trying to misunderstand this girl. So Happy says that she has been disrespectful and condescending to the group, right? And they don't like her tone. And she thinks that she's white. Even when she left initially, they were talking about how her having a white husband is an issue. I'm like, what is happening with these ladies? Like, I with all of them now, that I feel like, because also Vui, why is she being like that? Because from the look of things, she could be her husband could have been white or colored. So what is the issue there? And also, if this person is new to you and you don't like their tone, is this how you address them? Is this how you shout at them? You tell them as Happy, you tell them that you show them the streets. And then on the other side, and then Mrs. J tries to convince Happy to go and check on thingy on Noksie, and she tells her she's on the other side. And then we see Mrs. Sunday and Noksie on the other side, and Noksie is saying that please stay with me, I'm enjoying having someone with. And she's like, no, come, let's go. So and then she says, no, I'm not going to those in pieces because I don't want to be arguing. I don't want to be seeming to irritate people. She's like, no, you can sit next to me. And I feel like as much as Mrs. Sunday is trying to play both sides, because she told Mrs. J she won't be a mediator. So if she's not a mediator, what is she doing with Noksie? I'm just trying to understand, where is she getting the guts to sit next to her and tell her that it will be okay, we are the same in so many ways, because also me, I get misunderstood. And which way? She must explain in which way it's Noksie being shady to the people, and then when it comes to face, she claims that she has anxiety and depression. I'm not saying she doesn't have it, because she might have had it, but then you need to stand your ground, or you need to behave in a way that your anxiety and depression does not get triggered because of the things you have said to people. And now when they want to hold you accountable to it, and then now you claim that you have them. It's not a card that you can just pull out whenever you feel like it. I feel like that's what she has been doing. And then Happy stands up on the other side. Luckily, she doesn't meet Mrs. Sunday coming to the thing. And when she comes back, Mrs. Sunday says that she was in the bathroom. She has diarrhea, and that's why she had met up with Noksie for a brief moment. I'm like, it was brief on the TV, but I don't think it was brief for everyone, because and also I don't understand why the lie. We saw her going to the bathroom, but I feel like it was not her intention. The first time she said that she's standing up, she said, let me go and check on them. Then Dugu, I need to use the bathroom. Why the lie? Is there a need for her to lie? Because I feel like if they ask her at the reunion, or someone ask her, or maybe Noxie ask her to stay in with her at one point, and she is going to act different and be like she's part of the team that's against Noxie. Like this lady, no. She's not a normal human being. The way she's behaving, she behaves like there's something that she is fighting for with Noxie as well. Or maybe because she had said that she's childish, and maybe she doesn't want to seem like she's on Noxie's side, because she has complained to the ladies, and because she knows what they have said about her. Yeah. And also, guys, so when Happy goes to meet up with Noksie, right? She says that she's there as a host to try and find out how she is doing. And she tries and explains that the ladies and I who had been talking to you, within 6 hours, you went back to the same tone that he had been using, that they said they didn't like. So that's part of the reasons why there was this fight. So we get it now, right? So that's part of the reason. So they try to like breathe in, breathe out, and stuff like that. And then when she goes back to the ladies, I don't know what is wrong with Mrs. Sunday, or if she's too drunk or what. She's like, Utwakai, why? Utwakai Zhuang, when you said, they told you that when Mrs. J is the one that convinced Happy to go and check in on Noksie, and she saw that. Like, Mrs. Sandin, she's moving weirdly. And then she says that she's from a brothel. I think that was just like, I don't know if it was a shade to Mrs. Sunday or a shade to Noksie, because at one point Peladi is saying that Noksie is having an identity crisis. What identity crisis? Like, I don't get it. And also for the next, so that's what the end of the episode, right? So the next day they go on a game drive, and Noksie is not there. And I wonder if she had called her husband to come and fetch her, like she said that she should have let her husband fetch her in the morning. And I think this will prove to Mrs. Sunday that sometimes love exists in the outside of the concept that it has been existing for her. Some husbands love their wives such that they can drive close to 4 hours to fetch their husband, their wives, because their wives are not comfortable. And also, I think Paladi will be very happy, because also she was saying that at the dinner, that how will she introduce her kids to Noksie if Noksie is behaving this way. And then also Mrs. J in her diary session says that, oh, I should be the one that's questioning myself, because I've introduced my kids to you when you are the type of person that can dislike a person from just meeting them. It means, what if they dislike their kids? What is she going to do, or do something to her children, because safety and security? Because, like, what type of a human being is fighting with another one over the fact that they said that they couldn't recognize you? Now you are thinking that they are saying that you are ugly. These people, how shame. I give it up to them. Even Happy as a host as well. She's the things that she said during the thing and about this lady, because they are saying that, I think maybe because she said that she sells houses in Waterfall, it makes her a lot of money, so they also make money. But they have not told us what they do with their lives, except for Pelad, who told us that she's into farming. But guys, like I just think these people, Jay, something shady is going on there. They need to tell us exactly, and they also need to show us when they go to do these construction jobs that they do, because then we don't know what they do. If they are going to complain about an estate agent making money and closing deals, what is this? How old are they? She's right to ask them, to tell them that they are childish, because they are. They want to just keep fighting for unnecessarily. So they could have had a good time there by Palala, but no, they have decided that they will make Noksie part of their whole thing, such that even Vui is saying that they are eating Noksie as a topic, and she's right. They could change the topic. They could discuss how their husband have cheated on them, and now they are opened to Isitembu, that they want an honest man, and maybe they will be second wives or third wives or fourth wives, depending on how they feel, on the men they meet, as long as they have money and stuff like that. Like, I just feel like that's part of their reasons why they are so frustrated with Noksie marrying a white man that will likely not put her in Isitembu. Maybe they will give her another problem. We never know. But guys, like, I feel like they need to get their stuff together and act right. Thank you guys for watching this recap. See you guys in the next one.